of the Lower Third podcast. We are producing this show to give you some hope and some energy and some stories of resilience in this time when everything seems a little bit crazy. So I'm excited today to introduce you to Ryan Mathie. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and say hello. How you doing today, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great, and it's great to hear your introduction about being resilient or relentless or unstoppable, because that's what turns me on.
Yeah, right on. Well, that's a great place to start for sure. So you are a co-founder of High Performing Coach. Is
Yep.
that correct? And
Yep.
so can you tell me like a little bit of the origin story there?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the CEO and head of the training and development at High Performing Coach. I run the business with three other business partners. We all have different skills that we bring to the business. The origin is 10 years ago when I was not conscious, completely unaware, but trying to find my way through having my life work, and it just wasn't working. And I was in a new relationship at that point, which, as you know, that's when all your stuff comes up, right?
Right.
And it was jealousy, controlling, blaming, all that usual stuff. And she kept saying, we kept having the same argument, and there was stuff going on with her. There was weird stuff going on with me, but she kept saying, Ryan, it's nothing to do with me. She said that over and over again. I was like, no, it is you. And I was so right. And then this one time, 4 weekends later, when it happened like 4 or 5 times, I was like, right, what if? What if it's got something to do with me? And that inquiry question just basically, I almost fainted at the impact of the reality, because my life just started flashing in front of me. All the arguments, all the things I did that didn't work, the relationships, career, I just rendered myself a victim in so many of those situations. And I could just all of a sudden, like, whatever I wasn't seeing, I could see. And then I went home, jumped on my bed, and basically sobbed like a baby for 4 hours, literally cried, like all this pain and suffering. And it was like heaving the tears, like a baby would sob. And I did
Oh, I
that.
know.
Yeah. So I did that for 4 hours, but 2 hours into this sobbing, it started shifting from all this pain to this freedom. I started to realize I was becoming aware and free, and I was feeling lighter, and things were all of a sudden making more sense. I woke up the next day, started contacting all my ex-girlfriends, apologizing for all the shit I did, contacting my family and told them I loved them, and said, why don't we talk about this? And why do we never talk about that? And why don't we tell each other we love each other? I wrote a list of all the things I did I wasn't proud of, and just one by one for 2 years started working through them. And in that same 24-hour period, which it really was 24 hours, everything I was realizing, what was really landing was, you know what? I'm not the only one going through this, or I'm not the only one struggling with this. I'm not the only one that could start benefiting from seeing life in this way. And all I wanted to do was give that away to people. And that's what I started doing in my own way, in various shapes and forms. I was giving that insight away, and I was very driven by that hunger to contribute to people. And then fast forward now, having worked in transformation for 10 years at a very high level, I have the business that I've shared about. It's a successful business. We help coaches build their business. We show them how to create high-paying clients, and how we do that is we transform them.
Right.
I help them get everything that I've gotten in the last 10 years, and show them the strategies that they need as well, right? So it's like what's going on internally with your beliefs and all of your stuff, and what's going on out there with your strategy. You bring those two things together, and you're going to create extraordinary results. And so I give it to them, and they give it to their clients, and on and on and on it goes.
And you slowly save the world one coaching client at a time. I mean,
Yeah. It's kind of like that. I've always been driven by freedom, and it's not just because I watch Braveheart and it's an amazing movie, but I just always wanted to feel free. And, for many years, like everybody else, I just wasn't free to say what I thought, free to express myself, free to go for what I wanted, free to deal with things that didn't work, free to be upset, whatever. Right. So, I have that now. And again, all I want to do is give that away. And it's very natural, but it is that type of impact where, yeah, when you see somebody else get free because of a conversation that you've had with them, it's very healing.
it's a beautiful thing for sure.
Very
So
healing.
did you start off as a coach, or you started off coaching coaches, or was that kind of more of a natural progression?
Yeah, no, that was like a journey. You know, I started out, I actually started off when I had this moment that I shared with you. My first idea was, I'm going to go and interview people who are making a difference. I'll record it, edit it, put it on YouTube, and let people get the good news. Right. So I set up a little team and we did that. We did these interviews, and it's like 10 years ago, you know, everything was pretty new then. And then quickly I was like, okay, I can't really make a business out of this. This is
Right.
it's a kind of cool, fun project, but it was a good start. And then I said, okay, what if I went to people that are doing events and we film their events, but we stream it online? So events that are making a difference, we will stream it online so other people can get connected to the work. And now this is 10 years ago, you know, there was no
Yeah.
Facebook Live. Streaming was a brand new business and it was
Yeah.
expensive. So I created partnerships and started that business. And then we called it Looking In. You know, it was all about, you know, tapping into developing yourself and spreading the work that makes a difference. And I did that for a while. And along my journey, I did a course called the Landmark Forum, which, you know, maybe your listeners have heard of. And they had kind of crystallized a lot of what I'd been dealing with on my own. So I really felt like I came home when I went there, and then went through their programs, loved the development, started working with them at a very high level. Was managing, you know, some of their centers, was leading their leadership programs, developing their coaches, leading seminars, did all of that. And then one day I wanted more. I wanted more freedom. I wanted to build something of my own. And then I left about probably like 5 years ago now, to just build something of my own from everything I had learned and all the insights that I had. And then, yeah, fast forward to what we have today is a real expression of all of that. It's a real combination of everything that I learned along the journey. So the coaching coaches came about, it really, you know, I've done that for a long time in different ways, but it really came in the last 2 years. Like really showing them how to be better coaches, showing them how to make money, showing them
Right.
how to deal with their belief issues, their worth issues, showing them how to serve people powerfully. Yeah, all of that came about in the last 2 years.
So, you know, it's really interesting you say like their belief system about themselves. There's one thing that I've really come across in not so much producing podcasts for people, but I also build online courses.
Yeah.
And with podcasting too. I'm always amazed how people have so many people have imposter syndrome. Like I would say that a majority of people do. Like they know the information, but they're just not confident about it and they don't feel like they should be the one to say it. And like that is a huge hurdle, right? Like even just getting somebody to do like a 2-minute video, it's like a really difficult thing, right? I was reading the Tools of Titans, you know, Tim Ferriss's latest book, and he was talking about how a lot of women have the same issue, but if you're if you have older brothers, you're less likely to have those like confidence issues, which was kind of, I guess, because you just always have to like yell and fight and scream to get like food and attention and everything when you have older brothers. But you know, do you come across that a lot, or do you find that like your clients have kind of overcome that hurdle because they're already looking to be a coach, or is that like just an ongoing process in
Yeah,
life?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, they got work to do. They're definitely coming in, dealing with a lot of that. And that's part of their journey. You know, just because they got accredited in coaching doesn't give them anything. It shows them tools and strategies,
Right.
but the real work is their work. And you know, for you know, many coaches, they've been on a journey, but there's, you know, when you start building your business and putting yourself out there, you're way out your comfort zone and all that stuff that hasn't really been working for you or that's been holding you back in other ways, it reveals itself, and we help people deal with that powerfully. So yeah, you know, it's, the job's never done no matter how well they're developed. It's a mountain that has no top, and we help people break through that wherever they're at, you know, wherever they're at in the journey. But you know, all the people I've worked with, people for 10 years, I mean, in excess of 2,000-3,000 people I've coached in that time. I've never met one that wasn't dealing with themselves at some level.
For sure. And sometimes it can creep up on you. You know, I moved out at 17 and never went home, and, you know, had a bunch of spinal surgeries and had to kind of reinvent myself a few times and owned a multimedia company the whole time. And, you know, I got used to dealing with difficult things by myself. And then when things changed over the last few years and started finding more success, that's when
Yeah.
things got really uncomfortable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you think you go through the worst of it and you're good. And then, you know,
Yeah.
and then when something really great happens, you're like, oh shit, I don't know how to I don't
Yeah.
really know how to process this. And that's
Yeah.
when
Yeah. Yeah.
you realize you need therapy, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And there's always a next level, and that's great. That's the growth. You're either expanding or you're shrinking. So in the expansion, it's never comfortable. But you can get comfortable in being uncomfortable. It's quite a well-known bit of a catchphrase, but it's something to be discovered like that. I'm very comfortable being uncomfortable. Before I do events, I notice all of this stuff inside of me, but it's all right. Whereas 10 years ago, that would have been a big deal. I'd had to like do mantras and all sorts of shit to
Right.
get myself out of my head. But so there's a real skill in learning how to just be with whatever's coming your way or whatever's going on, because you trust the process. You know that you just get through the first 5 minutes, or you get through the first 3 months, and you trust yourself, because you know that with the right environment to learn, you'll figure it out.
For sure. I mean, first time you step up to the plate and swing that bat, it's not always a hit, right? You just got to
Yeah,
keep swinging. So what
exactly.
is your background before you got into coaching?
Oh, I mean, my background before I got into coaching was basically, a real mission to find something that mattered to me.
Hmm.
That's all I did all ever since I can remember. It started, when I was young, trying to be a professional footballer, but then decided I wasn't good enough. Then it was acting. Then I decided I wasn't good enough. Then it was DJing. So I had this pattern where I was really good at doing these things that I was passionate about, like a really good starter. But then when push came to shove, my mental strength, it wasn't there. And I didn't have any, really good guidance to help me through that. I just had to fumble my way through it all on my own. So I was like going from one big ambitious project to the next, and then it would fail. I'd sabotage it, and then the next one. But it was all perfect. A lot of my time in my 20s was starting companies that then weren't right, or that failed, or I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was doing consultancy work in the city in London, all about the money, hated the job, spent all my energy trying to get out of it. So that was my life. Really, I wanted to do something that mattered to me. I wanted to go to bed at night and feel proud about what I was doing with my life. And I was proud in some way that I knew I was trying, but I'd never discovered it. So it was frustrating as hell. But when this moment hit, that was it. Life was never the same again. And I've been really, like, I was really on the journey that I was born to be on since
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've had, moving out at 17, I've had a bunch of different jobs. I was certified to be a preschool teacher when I graduated high school. I had 500 classroom hours with special needs kids, which I credit to a lot of my patience with working with artists, honestly. But I spent 13 years in real estate finance, and it was just, I was a business manager at Toyota. I did a lot of things, and then I did this, like, through parties and booked reggae bands, like, kind of on the side, and then eventually that took over. It was, 2 spinal surgeries in '06 and '09, that I just was like, I don't want to spend my life tearing people apart. I want to spend my life bringing people together,
Yes.
and you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And there's something about laying in a hospital bed knowing they're going to open up your spine and put you out for 4 hours and fuse
Wow.
3 vertebrae in your neck, that you have these real conversations with yourself, like, yo, are you good? Like, if you don't, you know what I mean, are you good? And no one else is in the room. That's like a conversation you are solely having with yourself. And it was in that process of just realizing I'm good, but I'm not done, and I'm not going to make unscrupulous motherfuckers money anymore. And that's
Yeah.
what I was doing in the mortgage business. I was really good at my job, and
Yeah.
I made horrible people a lot of money. uh, I was good at my job because it was all about the people, and it was all about problem solving, and it was about getting those loans done and getting people into housing for the first time, and the subprime lending, flex of the 90s. And it was like a double-edged sword, right? I was doing really good things, and lining the pockets of really bad people. And
Yeah.
it was, that's when I decided I was going to put all of my energy into elevating and amplifying voices, but it was through art, music, and culture for a very long time. Now it's flipped to podcasting, because I feel like the stakes are higher, and I'm older, and I want to amplify different voices, and I still love my local musicians, and I still love go-go band. I love all that. You can't take that out of me. I'm raised super Irish. I grew up with, like, the chieftains in my living room every Sunday. Uh, that'll always be part of me. But now it's more important, like, I really like everything that you're saying, because I think a lot of business coaches don't talk about the work that needs to be done. They just talk about imagine that beach house, or you know, it's all this other stuff that just never feels very authentic to me, because at the core, yeah, you gotta work on all that stuff, right? So, you know, this is a great example of being able to like elevate and amplify your voice to a different audience and help more people, because man, if we ever needed it, you know, it sure is now, you
Yeah,
know.
totally. Yeah, for me, it's like, everybody's always operating at whatever level of awareness they're operating at, right? So like those beach house guys, yeah, that's where they're at, and good for them, But for me, it's like I want to go all the way to the bottom. I want to get to the bottom of everything. I don't want any bullshit that you cannot pretend in my presence. I just smell it and I'll call you out on it. That's why I'm there. If I'm your mate, I might let it go and we'll have a beer instead. But like I really show up for people when I'm straight with myself and I'm straight with others, because that's where the power's at, and life's too, precious and too short to mess about. I did enough of that for 30 years.
Yeah.
I don't have any time for that now.
Yeah, I can respect that. You know, you sound like somebody who's eaten some hallucinogenics. I feel like you have a you know, a very central core there of understanding for sure. So, you know, the pandemic, you know, how has that, you know, impacted everything? You know, it looks like you're working from home just like everybody else, right? I got a really old refrigerator behind these flowers. That's what people can't see. But
Yeah.
how has that impacted things? Or, you know, has it impacted things? I mean, I feel like a lot of people there, a lot of their clients fell off, but then like new clients have appeared because of new industries and just shift in business. Have you
Yeah.
experienced, you know, any downturn with the business, or are you kind of digging your heels in stronger than ever?
Yeah, so let's talk about it from the business perspective, right? So as I saw it unfolding, like building like a tsunami, and I was like, okay, and I'm pretty strong in my mind, right? And nobody can convince me you can't do something. Nobody, right? So I was like, but I was watching this thing, and then we're talking to coaches, and they're like, yeah, I want to build my business, and I'm watching this thing, you know. And I was on a call with Max and Tina and Adrian one day. They're my co-founders. And I'm the guy with unshakable belief. That's what I'm training people to have. I'm the guy that's unstoppable. That's what I'm literally blasting my way through that to show people how it's done. And I'm on a call with Tina and Max and Adrian. And I just noticed myself. I was having a little wobble in my mind about, is this the right time for them? Our clients. And it was going on in my mind, and I was, when that's going on, there's the flow, there's no flow, right? You're kind of taking away the space, right? And they're like doing their thing, which is what we always do, and I'm doing this other thing, which I can't tell you the last time I showed up like that, but I saw it. This is happening over like a minute or two. It was that tiny, right? And I was like, guys, hold on, I just need to say something right now. Like I'm having a real like doubt about this right now, so let me just process it. And I was like, I think I'm telling myself that this is not the right time for them. I'm telling myself that they can't create clients right now. And that's getting in my way. And I just want to fucking vomit that out right now, because that's bullshit. But I can see how it's got a hold of me. And they're just like listening, like, yeah, like just giving me the space. I'm like, yeah, so fuck that. And what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna show up more. We're going to serve more powerfully than we ever served before, and we'll get even more visible. That's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to show them to do. We're going to tell them to do the same. Boom. So that was it. We just fucking showed up more, served more powerfully than ever. We created all these ways that we could do that. We got more visible. We had events for our clients, past and present, and we said, come to this free event. This is what we're doing now. This is how you're going to keep growing. We invited other people to watch it that weren't our clients. It was like, show up more. Don't run and hide.
Yeah.
But there was, because most coaches basically shit their pants, and I understand why, because
100%.
they didn't have that mindset yet. They were already struggling, and then the crisis hit. So the crisis was essentially a magnifying glass. How you showed up in that is how you showed up in your life, and that's just the way that it is. So so we were like, hey, don't do that. Don't talk yourself out of it. It was all sorts of things like, oh, we can't charge a high fee in the crisis. And I was like, okay, it's bullshit. The people right now, they're struggling more than ever. And this is when coaches are actually needed more than ever. You got to show up. So there's a bunch of coaches that listened to us, and they thrived in the crisis. We had our record month in April. In May, it was better than April. In June, it doubled May.
Amazing.
And in July, doubled June.
Amazing.
So that's how we responded to the crisis.
I
And
mean,
that's
I love it.
exactly, yeah.
Because I think that's what people need. I mean, I am not a, coach or a business coach, but I really enjoy telling people what to do, apparently. So there's a few people in my life who kind of lean on me, and, friends or, colleagues who will hit me up and ask me questions, and I like kind of redirect them. And it's just like so many people were just like, I have to pivot. And like, I hate that word. I'm like, fuck that word, man. Like, no, like if you're an entrepreneur, right? Like pivot is in our DNA. Like if you're an entrepreneur, your industry, like with or without a pandemic, could disappear overnight, or your competitor could crush you, or like
Yeah.
people just don't care about that anymore, right? Like you constantly have to be like bobbing and weaving as an entrepreneur, but like your mission should always be the same, right? So it's maybe how you deliver that product or how you serve that market in a different way that's relative to right now. But that's like the very definition of being an entrepreneur. Like
Yeah.
if you can't like, if you
Adapt. Adapt. See, that was my
adapt.
key word. I was like, guys, here's the key word right now is adapt. Okay, you got to adapt. So we had a workshop in London, and like 2 weeks before the lockdown, I goes, guys, it's not going to happen. Let's adapt right now. So we took the workshop online, and we sold more tickets than we ever sold to any workshop. And all of a sudden, our event was global. We had a program that wasn't really well suited to this new situation, so we scrapped it and we designed a brand new program that was more suited to what was going on in the world. And we've now had like 100 people come through that program in the last couple of months alone.
That's
Right?
amazing.
We just adapted, and it was like, okay, boom, boom, boom. But when you've got that kind of unstoppable, that willingness to just not get messed about by life, you just find solutions. You just because they're there. They're always there if you're willing to see them.
I couldn't agree more. There's always a way to get it done. That's really amazing. I love hearing all of this. I love that you guys, are honest with each other in business, which is, super important. What have your biggest challenges been with the business? And I don't mean in the pandemic, but just in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah. What's our biggest challenge? I mean, one of our biggest challenges was probably handling the growth.
Yeah,
Because I was doing a lot of the initial calls, and that I was right there on the front line. That was where the magic was, like really helping people have these breakthroughs in their business. And I was banging out like 10 of these incredible transformational calls a day.
that's insane.
It was really something. I did that for quite a few months, and they didn't know me. They didn't know me, so we were starting from fresh, like building something from nothing. And then we started building a reputation, and I was getting burnt out, and it's like, this is not sustainable, but it's got us this far. It's not going to get us where we want to go. So what do we do? So it's like, okay, we got to expand. We got to build a team. And then we started looking for opportunities to do that. So, fast forward, we brought in another co-founder, and she's incredible. She fills a real gap in our team. She's been doing amazing. And then we've got two other people I'm now training to have conversations and be on the calls as well. And so that was the challenge. The challenge of how do we handle this growth now? How do we keep serving people powerfully and showing up for people? And because we built a reputation on people getting results in our environment. So now people want to work with us more. How do we maintain that standard? So that was a challenge. But again, that's why I love it. I love. Okay, what's that breakdown like? Okay, good. There's something. If we deal with this, we will flip it again. Just
Right.
keep flipping those challenges. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Like, I'm now training a whole bunch of people to do what I do, and it's challenging and exhilarating and magical. And now I've realized there's another program in what I've been showing these people. So it's like,
Right.
just keep flipping everything. I'm like, I keep telling everybody, look, it's about alchemy. Okay. You turn every bit of shit into brand new gold. That's what's, every challenge, every problem. If you deal with it and you face it, there's so much gold that you can turn that into. And that's another thing that excites me when we can deal with life like that. Again, that I dealt with life the other way for a long time. I was getting knocked about, slapped about. I was like a pinball in the machine. So this is why I'm able to kind of have this stand now, because I went through all the pain, you know?
So what about like during this pandemic? Are you, other than that day that you were on the phone and you were like, I'm not really sure, like, I feel like a lot of people are really struggling with their mental health, right? Like, do you ever have times where you're just like a little sad or just the uncertainty of everything? And, like, do you find it hard to show up in those calls, or are you able to like turn that off and just kind of show up?
Yeah, no, I think my main thing is never like the sadness or like, it's yeah, it's just managing energy.
Mm,
Just managing my energy. Like if I get tired, like I put a lot of energy into every conversation. Like, even this one, I'm
yeah,
like fully in it, right?
totally. Yeah.
And I love that. I can't do it any other way. I don't want to do it any other way. And that, it takes something to learn how to manage that. And I burnt out in the last year and a half twice. Hard,
Right.
hard. I saw the first one coming. The second one completely took me by surprise. It was right in the middle of the crisis because of the way we responded, right? So I was like, so I had to
Right.
take the week off. So that's my only thing is energy. If my energy goes down, I get horrible. And my
Mm-hmm.
patience goes,
Yeah.
I'm just not, I don't look the same, it's like, so it's been learning. That's probably been my personal biggest challenge, is learning how do you manage having that much energy and putting that much energy in, and where do you get to replenish that, So like during the pandemic, I was having very, very pimped out baths 3-4 times a week, candles, piano music,
Right.
doTERRA essential oils,
Right.
Himalayan salts. I was like full on. If I'm not on, I'm all the way off, and I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it style. So it's that's my thing. Just making sure that my energy's good. My energy's good. It's great. If it's not, yeah, I can be horrible and just rubbish and be like, oh, what? Take me away. Get me off the court, guys. I'm like,
Yeah.
Max, get me off. Like, you got to step in.
Yeah. You just tap out. You're like,
Yeah,
I'm
total
good.
tap
I'm
out.
good.
I'm on my knees now. Like, I'm taking blood. Blood's coming out. Like, help me.
Trust me, I can relate to that a lot because I'm the same way. Like I can like, turn it on, but I'm not really turning it on. It's who I am. It's just like I'm
Yeah,
letting it come
yeah,
out really.
cool.
But sometimes when I'm not on, other people are really affected by it because it's such a difference
Yeah,
from the majority of the time that it's like I can tell people like take it personally. Or so
sure.
I've just learned, as a grown woman, to be like, I'm gonna be over here until I can play well with others, and then I'll be
Totally,
back and I'll be good. But like I'm
totally.
just gonna call it when I can. So
Right.
so what do you think next for the business? Like, will you continue to grow? Like, would you take on 100 more clients? Is that ultimately the goal? I mean, you have an idea on that?
Yeah, yeah. We're like how big can we play? And if we get to a point where we feel we've played enough and we're happy with that or satisfied, or like, I don't know, but we're not there yet. I just feel like we're getting warmed up, and where we're probably looking to go is to start training coaches at the start of their journey. So we meet them when they've got their accreditation and they get the reality that they don't know how to build the business, and then we take them from there. Um, and I am getting, there's nothing wrong, right? But I am getting a bit frustrated at hearing coaches telling me their training was to print off a bunch of business cards or to charge 50 quid a session. And, like, that's all right, but there's another level to play at in your training. And so we got a lot to offer them. And where we might expand to is we start coaching them to be coaches at the start of their journey. We'll accredit them. And then I feel that we can serve them even more powerfully if we get them at that stage, and then we show them exactly what it takes, because they're not being shown that.
Yeah, I suspect like becoming a coach is kind of like becoming a real estate agent for a lot of people. It's just like this thing that they're going to try, and some people probably take it more seriously than others.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think getting them at the beginning is always good. Same thing with me when I'm producing a podcast for a client. I love working with them from the beginning because then I can explain the importance of the SEO and the show description and
right.
the graphics and the, like, why are they having a podcast, and like, what is your end
Yeah,
goal? What are you trying to accomplish? Like, are you interviewing potential clients? Like, if not, why not? Right. Like, really kind of helping them get to that point. And then they have a much more positive experience and successful results with their podcast because they followed all the steps, right? And then they have more realistic expectations and they understand how much work it's going to take. And so then those things usually meet at a really good point, and then
yeah,
everybody's happy, right? Because
yeah.
managing expectations. Oh, that's a good question. Managing expectations is like the mother of all evils, man. Like, I'm sure you deal with that a lot with your clients, right? Like with, what you're promising them as, teaching them to be good coaches and Just,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that? Do you just kind of give them a lot of information and a timeline of what to expect, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, we're very much not about information. We are very much about transformation. So we're going to get people doing the things that are going to drive up their opportunity to grow and excel. And that means doing shit, doing the stuff that is effective, but that might be scary for them. And we show them how to do that, and we train them how to do that. And then we encourage them to play full out and really go for it and fill their boots in terms of, I'm like, what do you want to create? What's the results you want to have? What is it that you're creating? It's not, we don't promise any results, but we promise that we know how to create them, and we show up and give you everything that we've got. I'll be like, what is it you want to create? Are you committed to that? Okay, I'm committed to that. Let me show you how.
Right. You ever find yourself just kind of, running out of information, or does your knowledge base just continue to grow with every new client?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not information. We are, I'm, like, in every conversation, I'm coaching people, and whether it's, with our clients, or our business is like a scaled up version of the one that they want. So we are
Right.
the edge of the arrow, and we're learning new stuff every day in every conversation, or with every new thing that we create. And, so it's like, there's always something more to learn. I'm obsessed by getting the foot on the gas pedal and getting all the way at the bottom. You got to take it off sometimes, but like really leaning in and excelling and having things work better. Let's have things work better. So I'm like an animal with that. So there's a infinite amount to learn and discover, all of which I give straight to our clients.
That's amazing. So what's your favorite book?
Ooh, my favorite. Well, it'd have to be The Power of Now. It would have to be that, by virtue of the fact I've read it about 12 times, and
Okay.
I don't need to dip into it now, but during my journey of becoming more aware, it was just really, it was a real anchor for me, that book. Especially in times where it was, maybe life was getting the better of me, because life always gets the better of you because you're in your head making stuff up about life, rather than, okay, here's life. So yeah, Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Yeah, love that book. There are many books, but that's by virtue of the fact I've read it like 12 times. Not so much now, but it's still there, the teachings and stuff.
Yeah, it's like the Four Agreements. It's like I've probably read that, 6 or 7 times over the course of my life.
Yeah.
And, eventually you're just sort of skimming through. It's just like cliff notes. You're like, oh, yeah. Let me absorb that again and get it in. Yeah. Well, I'll have to check that out. I made a commitment last year to read more books, and I set out to read a book a week, and I did not hit my goal, but I read 28 books, which was 28 books more than I read the previous year. So I feel like that is an accomplishment in itself. And so now I'm really hooked on trying to absorb as much information and knowledge really as I can in perspective. It's
I'm going to say one more book. Can I say one more book?
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. You can suggest as many books as you want, honestly.
Okay, so look, I think we all want to have an incredible love in our life, right? And when we have that, how do you keep it alive, right? So my other obsession is happy, fulfilled relationships, as well as building purpose-driven businesses. And I have not mastered that yet. I mastered the business, but when it comes to women, love, relationships, I still have things to learn. And but I'm getting close now. And this book, I've read many books on the topic. This is the one.
That's the one.
Right?
Getting the love you want.
It's a bit of a cheesy title, which does the book no justice, but it's by a guy called Harvo Hendricks. The work that he's done in the last 30, 40 years in understanding relationships and why they all go the way they go and what it's really about, it is a game changer. It's brilliant. So I recommend all my clients that tell me they're struggling in their relationship, I'm like, read that book.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend, we read it together and we did the exercises together, and it's just brilliant. So that's a fantastic book as well.
Well, you can't tell, but I'm ordering it on Amazon right now as we speak. Like 7 copies just to be safe. That's amazing. Well, this has been a really great conversation. So, what do you want people who are listening to know about your business and how they can get a hold of you, and what type of person should want to hire you, right?
Yeah, well, look, if you're a coach and you want to build your business and you want to have a great life that's expressing what matters to you, and you want to learn how to have that show up in monetary terms and you can see the impact that you're making. If that's what you're up to or you want to get up to, then that's how we help people. We have we run events. We have a free workshop that we run twice a week. It's like a 2-hour workshop. I lead it. They're brilliant. They're really powerful. I'm here in exactly the same way I'm here in this conversation. I'm just there, seeing where people are at, coaching them, helping them see things in a straight way, clear way, giving them loads of value, and then we go from there. There's various options from that point, but it's a great chance to get connected and to have a difference made, no matter what happens. So we can drop that link and they can come for free, and we can meet each other and go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you guys have a podcast out right now. I mean, you've been doing
We
your
do,
show on
exactly.
YouTube, but you have
Yeah.
a podcast, which we probably edit for you
Yes,
guys.
exactly. So we have a podcast, we have YouTube, we have a Facebook group, all of those things. So we can give you those links. But yeah, the podcast for all the podcast lovers. Yeah, thanks to you, they're out there and people are loving them. They're
That's
loving
awesome.
them.
So
Thanks for that.
if just to touch on it, it seems to me like the best advice you're giving people, right, if I'm going to summarize and speak on your behalf, is that to be more visible, right? To show up even harder right now, to really put yourself out there in your business and just kind of double down on that visibility. Has that worked for you? I mean, it seems like it's worked tremendously in the last couple months here. I mean, in general, but
Yeah. So show up, serve people really powerfully. We're not here for ordinary conversations or mediocre. It's about having real breakthroughs, and then show up more online. Be more visible, be out there, be easy for people to find you. My ultimate recommendation for any coach looking to figure that out or to do that is to hire somebody that can show you. Have as a coach who has a coach there. That's what it looks like to be the real deal. And I'm not saying that so you hire me. I want people to get that. When you don't know how to do something, if you recognize that's where you're at, the most effective thing to do is to have somebody show you. Don't reinvent the wheel. That's not indicative of what it is to be a coach. Coaches know that the best way is to have somebody in your corner. That's why they exist for other people. So have the same for you. Go and find somebody. Yeah, we could, help you see if you're drawn to what we're saying. That's the thing that I did. I hired somebody. I've had an army of people around me my whole life. And I get the value of coaching, and so I'm an expression of that. Have people in your corner that can challenge you and help you grow and give you things that you're not going to work out on your own, not for a long run. So don't waste the time and just cut that straight through and be super effective.
It's amazing. That's tremendous advice, honestly. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you taking time to do this call. I'm sure you're super busy, but this was a really lovely conversation. I'm really glad I got to meet you.
Yeah,
I was,
great. Enjoyed it.
doing some research about you, and there's just so many videos and everything. And I was like, I'm just going to pretend like we're sitting across the table at a bar, having a beer together and chopping it up. So I really appreciate this. I'm going to look into that workshop. I think I'm going to take it as well. I've been finding myself, struggling a little bit, just, spending a lot of time alone. And so days kind of run into each other, and, Monday, Friday, Saturday, what's the difference, right? So, I think having a little bit more accountability in my life would probably be a good thing. So don't be surprised if you see me in one of those workshops.
Cool. All right. See you there.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you again. And thank you all for tuning in to the Lower Third. If you found this content to be valuable, interesting, uplifting, the greatest compliment that you can give me would be to share it on LinkedIn and tag both me and Ryan in it so we can engage with you and reshare that commentary and just kind of talk about what we all gained from this podcast. So thank you again. We'll see you real soon.
Beautiful. Thank you.